Windjammer Surf Racers was a roller coaster. To be more specific, it was one of the worst coasters the world has ever seen. This mouthful of a name became Knott's biggest mistake, and today we will uncover why. Our story begins in 1996 with another coaster, Wacky Soapbox Racers. This beloved coaster at Knott's had endured 20 long years of operations, and the aerodynamics track had begun to deteriorate. The ride had high operational costs, and the general public had garnered a taste for more thrilling coasters. The public wanted something new, so with the Wacky Soapbox Racers' rising costs and a declining interest towards the ride, it was clear that it was time to replace it with a more thrilling and better alternative. The replacement of the late great Wacky Soapbox Racers would be just as beloved. Of course, I'm talking about Accelerator. Wait a sec. Oh, that came in 2002. 6 years after the closure of Wacky Soapbox Racers. So what came right after the closure? That would be the slightly less beloved, but still hated, Windjammer Surf Racers. Windjammer Surf Racers was an idea. Not a good idea, but an idea nevertheless. At the time, Togo was seeing great success with their incredibly janky and, let's be honest, terrible rides. In the same decade, Togo had produced the abysmal Big Apple coaster, which still stands in America today at the New York Hotel, but it is completely terrible with awful transitions. But despite this, Togo didn't yet have the terrible reputation that they have today, and they were willing to make a coaster that was truly one of a kind for Knott's. Since Knott's wanted something unique that the other parks didn't have, and Togo was willing to offer this, Togo was clearly the right choice for the manufacturer. They were also known for their looping mouse coaster, so it made perfect sense for Togo to create this more thrilling spiritual successor to Wacky Soapbox Racers. The space they had to work with was also quite compact, meaning they only had a limited number of options to choose from. Due to these listed factors, Togo was the prime candidate for the manufacturer of this hopefully not terrible coaster. But spoiler alert, this coaster would not avoid being terrible. It would be one of the worst rides in the history of rides. The ride would open in 1997 for $6.2 million. It was not an incredibly expensive ride. However, during the construction process, things went terrible. It was reported that track pieces were misaligned. This major mistake may have helped contribute to the coaster's roughness issue. The coaster was also forced to have over-the-shoulder restraints, which further lowered the chance of having any remotely decent ride. Of course, some brave individuals were able to somehow find joy in riding this monstrosity of a coaster. These individuals would later be confirmed to be insane. This thrilling coaster would open, and the public was not satisfied with the result in any way, shape, or form. The coaster was marketed as the world's first major outdoor dual-track steel looping coaster. Solly's specific claim to fame further signified that the coaster was just all around terrible. Whatever expectations people had for such a specific title would soon be proven wrong. The coaster had a strange layout, which was not thrilling in any way. The headbanging caused by the shoulder restraints, mixed with the misaligned track, further cemented that this ride experience was one of the worst coasters in the entire park. Actually, the worst, let's be honest here. Additionally, the coaster was designed to operate in only the best of best conditions. Even a light wind would force the coaster to cease operation. The coaster was designed only to run with an absence of wind, so ironically, Windjammer Surf Racers could not even handle the wind itself. These factors result in one of the worst ride experiences in the history of amusement parks. This terrible experience will lead to not only the general public disliking this coaster, but also Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's would attempt to salvage this monstrosity after only a few weeks. They would spend $2 million to help fix the ride's jarring issues. However, after 3 more years of sparse operations, they finally gave up. The coaster would be shut down in 2000. This expensive disaster resulted in Knott's attempting to sue Togo International. This coaster, which Knott's described as an embarrassment, had tormented guests for 3 very short years, but now would cease to exist, just like the company that produced the ride. The lawsuit was for $17 million for the ride, which was not described as something wanted in the park. Knott's claimed that the coaster would shut down in 3-mile-per-hour winds, which is more accurately described as a light breeze. They also claimed that the coaster, which shut down in a light breeze, was essentially a worthless piece of metal that shouldn't have even been built. Despite these claims, a jury ruled in favor of Togo, but even though they won the lawsuit, this would forever harm their reputation. Togo would cease to produce any more coasters. Of course, the story does have a happy ending, as the coaster would soon be replaced by an intimate accelerator named Accelerator. Despite this terrible name, the Accelerator continues to thrive in the park today, in the spot where Windjammer stood. Consequently, a terrible coaster that was Knott's greatest mistake has turned into one of their greatest triumphs. Plus, we don't have to endure more tug coasters in the United States. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe.